he's Chihiro's dead brother. It means that she's willing to give up her life to save Haku. So at the end, the theme makes a full circle. Now, please take a look at her shoulders. Color of the face and the shoulders is the same. This tells us that she's naked. The reason why Chihiro is naked in this scene is that when she's small, she falls into that river naked. Well, kids are often dressed only in underwears where they play in rivers. Just like that, Chihiro is half naked when she falls into that river. The child who's reaching the hand out is wearing a t-shirt. Isn't that weird? If that hand was Chihiro's hand, the situations would contradict, because she's at least not wearing anything on her upper body. The question is then, what is being depicted? The child's hand is extending to where someone fell. According to the storyboard, it's a child's hand, but it's not Chihiro, because Chihiro fell into the river naked. A child's hand stretched out to save her. In other words, there should be some child wearing a t-shirt who reached out to help Chihiro. And who's that? The main part of discussion in this part is to answer the question of who that is. When Chihiro says, "How do you know my name?" Haku says, "I've known you since you were little." The reason why Haku knows Chihiro from a young age despite the fact that he can't even remember his own name is that he's Chihiro's dead brother. Chihiro did not float her shoes in the river. She fell in the river. Her brother pulled her out to help her, but instead, he was swept out by the river and did not return. The scene shows how her brother became a god by sacrificing his life for someone else. Chihiro doesn't remember this. He says, "I don't remember this, but I heard it from my mother." Even though she says she floated the shoes, she doesn't remember it at all. So, her mother didn't tell Chihiro that she had an older brother or he died because of her. She only told Chihiro that she almost drowned in a river when she was little. That's why she doesn't remember the incident, but Haku does. The reason why Haku says, "It's strange that I remember you," and Kamaji affirms, "It's the power of love," is because it's fraternal love. Haku doesn't want to hurt Chihiro's feeling, so even if he remembers what happened, he won't say it, nor will Kamaji. Or maybe Haku himself doesn't remember the incident. In the movie, they say Kohaku River was filled up with earth and disappeared later. The expression implies death, because this idea of landfill is a metaphor for burial, funeral, or a corpse. But he still is not a perfect god because Chihiro can see him. The real gods are only visible near Abraya at night after the lights are turned on. In the end, he does turn into a perfect god. It's a long story. Chihiro says, "Mom, that building's making noise." But the mother says, "It's just the wind." Then she turns around, but she doesn't look at Chihiro. Chihiro keeps pulling her mother's hand and talking to her, but she ignores her and says to the father, "I should have brought a sandwich from the car." In the scenes around here, Chihiro continues to try attracting the mother's attention, but she hardly sees Chihiro's face. She talks to Chihiro without looking at her, but she sees the father in the eyes when they talk. Her attitudes toward Chihiro and the father are too different. We've all realized that Chihiro's mother is acting strange. Everyone who saw it noticed it because the mother is walking the rocky area of the river, which is dangerous for herself to walk on. And she says to the father, "Oh no," and hugs him. Then the father goes, "It's dangerous." But when they are moving on, all she does to Chihiro is to turn around and says, "Be careful, Chihiro," in a cold manner. It's because she unconsciously treats Chihiro badly because she's responsible for the eldest son's death. She does that unconsciously though. In her mind, she's taking good care of her daughter and she knows it's not her fault that her son died. But unconsciously, her true feeling reveals in her attitudes, such as not looking at Chihiro's face or talking to her in a cold tone of voice. The parents are hiding the fact that they lost their eldest son to Chihiro. That's why the mother is cold to Chihiro. Finally, everything makes sense now. The reason why the mother is being so cold to Chihiro without any explanations, or why Haku says to Chihiro that he knew her for a long time, but doesn't tell her where and when they've met. If Haku was a god, as he said, then it doesn't make sense that Chihiro can see him from the first scene, because in this world, gods are not visible to human beings until it gets dark at night and they arrive at the resort kind of place. Then they finally become substantial. Haku is turning into god of Kohaku River, but he's not one yet. Now, Haku died for Chihiro, but Chihiro, in return, went to apologize to Zeniba for Haku by taking a one-way train. Traveling on a one-way train means that she went to the world of death, where she can't return from for Haku. By doing so, the theme of her being able to live by someone's favor and her returning the favor by living for someone else conclude. It's clear in anyone's eyes that Chihiro goes to the world of death. After Kamaji tells her that no one can return from the world of death, she still rides on the train without a way back, which runs endlessly on water that looks like sticks. It means that she's willing to give up her life to save Haku. That's how the theme completes here. She realizes that she has never noticed that someone has saved her life. Then she decides that she's going to risk her life for someone as well. So at the end, the theme makes a full circle. How the theme of the movie goes round is not explained through lines, but through Hisaishi's dramatic music. That's why the structure of the movie is hard to understand.